Esther's Hebrew name was Hadassah, which means myrtle. She was a young Jewish girl living in Susa, the capital of the Persian Empire, far from the land of her people. Her parents had died when she was young. Her older cousin Mordecai had taken her in and raised her as his own daughter. She grew up as an outsider, a minority, a girl with no status in one of the most powerful empires in the world. But God had been preparing her in the hidden years, shaping her character, developing something in her that neither she nor anyone around her could yet see. King Ahasuerus, also known as King Xerxes, held a great search across his kingdom for a new queen. Young women from every province were brought to the palace. Esther was among them. And of all the women brought before the most powerful king on earth, he chose Esther. She was placed on the throne of the Persian Empire. She became queen, but Mordecai had given her very specific instructions. Do not reveal your nationality. Do not tell anyone you are Jewish. Her identity, the very thing that would later put her in the greatest danger she had ever faced, was a secret. She was queen, but she was living a double life, and she did not yet know what God had placed her there to do. King Xerxes honored a man named Haman above all the other nobles. He elevated him and gave him a seat of honor higher than all the other officials. The king commanded that all the royal officials at the king's gate had to kneel down and pay honor to Haman. Everyone obeyed. Every single official bowed the knee to Haman every time he passed, except one man. Mordecai refused. Day after day the other officials warned him. Day after day they asked him why he was defying the king's command. Day after day Mordecai refused to bow. When Haman saw that Mordecai would not kneel or pay him honor, he was enraged, and he decided that punishing just Mordecai was not enough. He was going to destroy every Jewish person in the entire Persian Empire. Haman went to King Xerxes and said, "There is a certain people scattered among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom. Their customs are different from those of all other people. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. Let a decree be issued to destroy them, and I will put 10,000 talents of silver into the royal treasury." The king took his signet ring from his finger and gave it to Haman. He said, "Keep the money and do with the people as you please." Dispatches were sent by courier to all the king's provinces, ordering the destruction, killing and annihilation of all the Jews, young and old, women and little children, on a single chosen day. A date was now set, a deadline for an entire people, and almost no one knew it yet. But God knew, and God had already placed someone in exactly the right position to stop it. When Mordecai learned of everything that had been done, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, and went out into the city wailing loudly and bitterly. He went only as far as the king's gate, because no one in sackcloth was allowed to enter the gate. In every province where the king's command and decree had arrived, there was great mourning among the Jews, weeping and wailing. When Esther's attendants and eunuchs told her about Mordecai, she was in great distress. She sent clothes for Mordecai to put on instead of his sackcloth, but he would not accept them. Then Esther sent a trusted servant to find out what was troubling him. Mordecai sent back the full account of everything. Esther sent a message back to Mordecai. All the king's officials and the people of the royal provinces know that for any man or woman who approaches the king in the inner court without being summoned, the law says they must be put to death. The only exception is if the king extends the golden scepter, and the king has not summoned me for 30 days. If Esther walked into that throne room uninvited, even as queen, she could be executed on the spot. But Mordecai sent back the reply that has echoed across all of human history. He said, Esther sent this reply back to Mordecai, "Go, gather together all the Jews who are in Susa, and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." 3 words. If I perish, I perish. Those are 3 of the bravest words anyone has ever spoken in the Bible. Esther was not naive. She knew the law perfectly. She knew that walking into that throne room without being summoned could mean instant death. And she chose to go anyway, not because she was not afraid, she was terrified, but because she decided that what was at stake was bigger than her fear. Faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is choosing to move forward even when you are trembling. On the 3rd day Esther put on her royal robes. She dressed in the finest garments of a queen. And she stood in the inner court of the palace, in front of the king's hall. Every step she took could have been her last. Every breath as she walked through that corridor could have been the breath before her execution. And then King Xerxes was sitting on his royal throne in the hall facing the entrance. And when he saw Queen Esther standing in the court, he was pleased with her and extended to her the golden scepter that was in his hand. Esther was not going to die today. She approached and touched the tip of the scepter. The king said, "What is it, Queen Esther? What is your request? Even up to half the kingdom it will be given you." She had survived the walk. She had survived the approach. And now, the mission was about to be completed. Esther invited the king and Haman to a banquet she had prepared. At the banquet, Haman was in the highest possible spirits. He felt untouchable. And the king asked Esther again, "What is your petition, Queen Esther? It will be given to you. What is your request? Even up to half the kingdom it will be granted." Esther took a breath. This was the moment. Everything had come to this single point in time. This was what she had been placed here for. This was such a time as this. She said, "If I have found favor with you, Your Majesty, and if it pleases you, grant me my life. This is my petition, and spare my people. This is my request. For I and my people have been sold to be destroyed, killed and annihilated." King Xerxes was furious. He demanded, "Who is he? Where is he, the man who has dared to do such a thing?" And Esther said, "The adversary and enemy, is this vile Haman?" Haman was terrified before the king and queen. The man who had held the power of life and death over an entire nation of people was now exposed, caught, finished, by a young orphan woman who had fasted for 3 days, prayed with everything she had, and walked through a door that should have killed her. Haman had signed the death warrant of an entire people. And in this single moment, everything flipped. Because Esther had decided that her calling was greater than her comfort. Haman was executed on the very gallows he had built to hang Mordecai. The king gave Haman's estate to Queen Esther. Mordecai received the king's signet ring, and Esther pleaded again before the king, weeping at his feet, for the lives of her people. The king extended his golden scepter to Esther again, and he issued a new royal decree, allowing the Jewish people in every province to assemble and protect themselves. And on the very day that had been set for their destruction, the Jews were victorious over their enemies. An entire nation was saved from total annihilation because one young orphan girl heard a call and answered it with her life. For such a time as this, those 4 words are not just for Esther, they are for you, right now, in the position you are in today, with the relationships you carry, with the influence you have, even if it feels small, with the platform you are building, with the life God has given you. God has not placed you where you are by accident. The neighborhood you grew up in, the family you were born into, the gifts inside you that feel ordinary to you, but are extraordinary in God's hands, the people that only you can reach. Esther was not a warrior. She was not a prophet. She was not born royal. She was an orphan girl who said yes to God at the moment that mattered most. And she changed the entire course of history. You do not have to be the strongest. You do not have to be the most qualified. You do not have to have it all together. You just have to say yes. Because who knows, perhaps you have come to where you are for such a time as this. If this story blessed you today, please subscribe to Scripture Stories. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And I will see you in the next story. God bless you.